If you are a first-time home buyer, or maybe you are already out touring homes, one question I hear all the time is, are there certain types of homes I should stay away from? And the honest answer is yes, and sometimes it depends. My partner has renovated a number of homes over the years, and I have spent a lot of time helping him look at properties, evaluate them, and figure out what kinds of issues might need to be addressed before buying. And after seeing a lot of homes up close during that process and helping many buyers through their own home purchases, there are definitely certain types of properties where I encourage people to slow down, look a little more carefully. Now, that doesn't mean every home in these categories is bad, but they're the types of home where you want to ask more questions and really do your due diligence before moving forward. Because the last thing you want is to buy a home and then find yourself constantly throwing money at problems you didn't see coming. Today, I'm going to walk you through some of the types of homes that I generally encourage buyers to be cautious about. If you enjoy content about buying homes or real estate, your loan options, go ahead and hit the button and subscribe, because I share videos like this to help people make smarter decisions when buying properties. The first type of property that I personally try to steer buyers away from are homes that have location issues. For example, homes that back to major streets, homes that back to freeways, homes that are very close to railroad tracks, or in some cases, homes that are built on hillsides that are not structurally reinforced. And the reason this matters is simple. You can change a lot of things about a house, but you cannot change the location. Location is everything in real estate. My parents used to say, location, location, location. Major streets, freeway noise, railroad noise, those things tend to push buyers away. And I've sold a lot of homes over the years, and when a property backs to a busy street or freeway, I almost always hear the same feedback. They say, we liked the house, but the noise was too much. And because of that, those homes usually have a smaller pool of buyers when it is time to sell. So even if you don't plan on selling anytime soon, at some point in the future, you probably will. And resale value is always something you want to think about. Think of it this way. Let's say there are 100 buyers looking for homes in a neighborhood. Once that home backs to a busy street or freeway, you might lose half of those buyers immediately, simply because they don't want to deal with the noise. And when fewer buyers want the property, it makes it harder to sell and affects the value. You can update the flooring, you can paint the walls, but you cannot change the location of the home. The second type of property I encourage buyers to look closely at are homes located in communities with problematic HOAs. Now, an HOA itself isn't necessarily bad. In fact, many HOAs do a great job keeping neighborhoods maintained and protecting property values. But sometimes HOAs can become an issue. For example, extremely high HOA dues, HOAs with poor financial reserves, communities involved in lawsuits, or HOAs with very strict rules. Also, make sure there is not an upcoming special assessment or a current special assessment happening. These are one-time costs to repair many times large ticket items like roofs or the parking area. I've seen situations where buyers fall in love with a home and later discover the HOA has large special assessments, which can mean thousands of dollars in unexpected costs. And these special assessments can be thousands of dollars. I've personally seen it. If there is a known special assessment or upcoming one, make sure that the seller is responsible for the payment in your contract to buy and sell real estate. So whenever you are buying in an HOA community, it's important to review the HOA financial statements, reserve funds, rules and regulations, any pending litigations, because once you buy into that community, you are agreeing to those terms. Another type of property that can cause problems are homes with awkward floor plans or strange layouts. Sometimes you walk into a home and it just doesn't flow well. Maybe you have to walk through a bedroom to get to another bedroom. The kitchen is separated from the main living space. The primary bedroom opens directly into the living room, or the layout just feels unusual. These types of issues are called functional obsolescence, and they can be very difficult to fix. Cosmetic things like paint, flooring, and cabinets are easy to change, but changing a layout often means moving walls, plumbing, and structural elements, which can become very expensive. And even if you're willing to deal with it, the next buyer might not be. So it is always important to think about future resale value as well. The third category I'm very cautious about are flipped homes. Now, a flip is basically when an investor buys a property that needs work, updates it, and then puts it back on the market at a higher price, and sometimes in a short amount of time. And sometimes these homes look beautiful, new kitchen, new flooring, fresh paint, everything looks amazing at first glance. But here's what you want to be careful about. A lot of these investors are trying to make a profit, which means sometimes they're doing the renovations as cheaply and as quickly as possible. And what I tell my buyers when we walk into a flip is this. If you can see mistakes with your own eyes, maybe the cabinets don't line up quite right, the trim work looks rushed, the flooring feels uneven, or there are little gaps in the finishes, then you have to ask yourself, if they cut corners on the things we can see, what about the things that we cannot see? Things like electrical, plumbing, structural work, roof repairs. Another issue is that sometimes permits were not pulled, which means the work may not have ever been inspected by the city. And the last thing you want as a home buyer is to move into what looks like a beautifully renovated home, only to discover later that some of those updates were not actually done correctly. Now, I do want to be fair here. Not every home that has been flipped has been poorly done. I personally know flippers who take pride in their work and do the extra work, including everything happening behind the walls to make it high quality. Just make sure to do your due diligence. Another category I'm very cautious about are homes with structural issues. These might show up as large foundation cracks, cracks in the walls or ceilings that run in multiple directions. Sagging ceilings, uneven floors, small hairline cracks, and drywall can be normal as homes settle, but cracks that move diagonally or spread across multiple surfaces can sometimes indicate foundation movement, which can be expensive to repair. This is where inspections become extremely important. Get a structural engineer out there to let you know what is going on. Another thing I encourage buyers to pay attention to: older systems in the home. For example, old galvanized plumbing, outdated electrical systems like knob and tube wiring, aluminum wiring, aging HVAC systems. Galvanized pipes, for example, tend to rust from the inside over time and eventually need to be replaced. These issues are not always deal breakers, but they should absolutely be factored into the cost of the home, and you should have a general idea of how much they are going to be to repair. Another major item is the roof. If a roof is close to the end of its life, a replacement can be expensive. Depending on the size of the home and materials used, replacing a roof can cost anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000 or more. So if a home needs a new roof soon, make sure that's reflected in the price or that you have the budget set aside for it. Homes with major water intrusion or mold issues are another category where buyers should be very cautious. Minor leaks under sink are usually manageable, but significant water damage or mold that has spread through a home can become very complicated and expensive to remediate. Another type of home I generally approach carefully are homes where the entire roof is flat. Flat roofs tend to have shorter lifespans and can sometimes have drainage issues that lead to leaks. A small flat section on a roof usually isn't a big deal, but when the entire roof is flat, it's something worth evaluating carefully. Another thing that's really important to understand is that different parts of the country have different property issues. For example, here in Colorado, we often deal with things like radon and expansive soils, sometimes called bentonite. Radon is a naturally occurring gas that can seep into homes from the ground and accumulate in basements. Long-term exposure can create health risks, which is why radon testing and mitigation systems are common here. Expansive soils, including the bentonite clay, can also cause issues. These soils expand when they absorb moisture and shrink when they dry out, which can cause movement in foundations over time. In other parts of the country, buyers deal with different concerns. For example, flood zones in coastal areas, termites in warmer climates, hurricanes or wind exposures in southern states. And this is why it is so important to work with a local real estate agent who understands the specific challenges in your area. One of the most important things you can do as a buyer is simply slow down and do your due diligence. Do not skip the home inspection. If you want to and you're skipping the home inspection, at least allow for major things that you can back out on structural, those roofs, like allow for those major things that you can back out on. I know sometimes when the market is competitive, people feel pressure to waive contingencies just to win the house, but you really want to be careful with that. I spoke with a client recently who bought a home during a time where it was a crazy seller's market. To get her home, she passed on inspections. And the home has had so many issues, she said, after moving in, that she wished she did not buy it. The repairs have been expensive and a nightmare, and she started crying. Hopefully this video doesn't scare you away from buying a home. That's definitely not the goal. The goal is simply to help you become aware of potential issues so you can make smarter decisions when buying property. And one of the best ways to avoid many of these problems is by working with a knowledgeable local real estate agent who understands the market and common issues in that area. If you already have an agent, that is fantastic. But if you don't, I'd be happy to help connect you with a great agent in your area that does business just like me. And I've included a link in the description below where you can reach out and I can help introduce you to a trusted agent who works the same way as I do. We can also go over your situation and see if we can help on the loan side or anything I can do to point you in the right direction. I also have a team of loan officers that can discuss your loan options or refinance options, so do not hesitate to reach out. I respond usually within 24 hours, and I'd love to hear from you as well. So what types of homes or property issues would you personally stay away from? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, please subscribe. It really helps push these videos out to others that it can help.